All right, boys and girls, welcome back to the You Love to Hear It podcast. I believe this is episode number 6. And today, we're coming to you live, of course, from the RV. I wanted to break down kind of an interesting topic, something that every single person that watches this video can actually relate to, and it's where I would be right now and where I would have been and what I would have done over the past couple months had I not gotten swiped with a pandemic like everybody across the entire world has. It's an interesting topic to think about because we were all in our regular daily routine, our engraved lives of just go, 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 go for years and years and years and years and years. And then all of a sudden, we got a couple signs of, oh, there might be this virus going around. This could be bad. I was actually in Japan when the first signs of Corona started happening. And me and Daly and TCAP were literally getting messages and comments every single day, at least 5 of people bringing up the coronavirus and telling us about it and telling us to be careful. And at that time, it was kind of just a word. Nobody really knew anybody who had come down with it. Nobody knew if it was actually going to become a global pandemic, which clearly nobody did. And this was in the middle to the late of January into and through February. When we came home, things have gotten worse. Me and Daly and TCAP all flew back to the East Coast, to Boston. We got in the RV, and in the mess of all this chaos, started a U.S. global tour, which is the craziest thing to do when you look back at it now, compared to being quarantined in a house. We actually were in an RV driving across the entire country just after traveling from Japan. So even the thought of that is quite bizarre. But we hit from Massachusetts, every single state, all the way over as we drove to California. We got to Baja. We took a break from snowboarding because I'd been snowboarding for the past, I don't even know, 11, 12 months or something like that. And that was the best feeling ever. There's no better feeling than snowboarding for any extended monthly time period, and then going onto your surfboard or getting back into the water is like the best feeling ever. I'm actually just dreaming of that right now. But after we were in Baja in Southern California and we got our sunshine on our skin and our bodies in the water, and we got that out of our system, we were going to start a new trip. So we started heading north. The plan was we had Mike Green, Mike Dawson, me, Daly, TCAP, and we were going to come to my house here in Truckee, California, where we have been for the past 2 months, maybe even longer. And we were just going to snowboard around Tahoe for a little while. That's when that situation with Mike Green happened, which was absolutely unfortunate and insane. And we were 2 days before the actual quarantine happened when Mike got injured at North Star. We were going to ride Sierra, I think that following Monday, Tuesday. I think Mike got hurt on a Sunday. We got 2 feet of POW, and that's when things started getting really crazy. The numbers started coming out. The president started shutting down borders and shutting down certain businesses and not allowing more than... I knew it was crazy. Not when the basketball NBA got shut down. Everybody saw that LeBron James video where he was saying oh, I'm not going to play for the fans. If the fans aren't there, there's no reason for me to play. I would never play if the fans weren't there. That's ridiculous. Why are you even asking a question like that? So they shut down the continuing basketball games. I kind of got a glimpse okay, this could get gnarly. And then when the WSL announced that they were shutting down the tour, or at least the first couple stops, I think it was in South Africa was where the first stop was supposed to be. That's when it really settled into me wow, if you are stopping the surfing tour, which I guess you don't really think in the moment when you're looking at it, or when you don't really know what's going on with the way that the WSL is set up. You just think a couple surfers in the water, people on the beach watching, but there's so much that goes into any event. It's crazy. The planning, the actual setup, the people that need to work behind the scenes to make it happen. There's thousands and thousands of people that we don't even realize set up these events. So once all the events started getting closed down, it was completely eye-opening. Oh my gosh, this could get way gnarlier than we had ever expected. And then we didn't want to leave at that point because we just weren't sure exactly what was going to go on. It had only been 2 weeks since being back in Tahoe, and I hadn't been in Tahoe since October, so honestly, it felt really good. And I want to say the odds of me even being in Lake Tahoe at my house for the first time in 5 or 6 months, and then even before that, such a elapsed time, was crazy. I'm usually never here. We're usually always in the RV. We're usually always traveling, if not this one, in my other van. And I just really think it's crazy that the one time when they actually announced, it actually hasn't, I don't believe, been mandated that you have to stay at home in Tahoe ever, but it's been highly, highly suggested. And with the amount of snowfall that we were getting here at first, it was kind of fine. We were like, all right, well, we'll just hang through. Maybe it'll only be a couple weeks. We got the backyard hot lap. We got a couple other places that we can hike around here. We can stay away from other people because at this point, social distancing had been heavily, heavily suggested. And all we were doing was going to the store, coming back. But as March started going halfway, maybe towards the end through, our plan, which is actually crazy, I have to say this because so many of you are probably wondering this, Daly, on that Friday, he left. We were getting all that snow Saturday, Sunday, Monday. He was supposed to be gone for Friday, Saturday, maybe or may not Sunday. I don't even think he said that. But he was going to be back Sunday to ride the gnarly POW day and then Monday as well. He was just going to like say hi to his family or drop something off. He actually left his entire nook, which is above me right now, filled with everything he owns. Here, he took a small, tiny little bag with like a shirt, a pair of boxers, and the drone. And then self-isolation, quarantine happened. He was down in the Bay area, which was so much more gnarly. I think they actually got the first warning that, or they actually got the mandate first that you're not allowed to leave your house unless it's for absolute essentials. And so when all this happened, he just decided that he had not been home with his family since October, November, since before Thanksgiving. And what better time to get some family time in than when you're mandated to quarantine and self-isolate with the people that you love at your home. So that's where Daly has been for the past 6 weeks. We had no idea that any of this was going to happen. We were all so unprepared. But when he was going to come back on that Monday, Mike Green was going to be healthy. We were all going to get back in the RV and over the course of that next week start working our way up the coast. This was mid-March at this point, and we wanted to hit Oregon and Washington. It probably would have been 2 days in Oregon, 2 or 3 days in Washington, some sick hiking. Those are always the best places to actually explore and to get out during the springtime. And from there, we're going to move our way east, but all the way north. So we were going to hit Idaho. We were going to hit, I believe it's Montana, North Dakota, all those 6 spots up in the north that I've never been to, that Dossie's never been to, that a bunch of the boys have never been to, and that we didn't get to hit on this tour. So basically, in December to January, we drove from California through Utah, Colorado, across the rest of the U.S. to the East Coast. Me and Daly went down to Florida and then back up. We slayed the New England area for a while. I feel like a total of like 3 weeks we were there. We went to Japan. We flew back. We drove back across the middle, and we actually snowboarded in Indiana and Missouri and Kansas and all these places throughout the middle. Colorado, went down so that we could hit Arizona and New Mexico, the southern route, Mexico, California, back up to Tahoe, and then we were going to hit the whole top route because this winter has been and was the sickest tour ever. But it was supposed to be the US 2020 CVLOGS tour. We were going to try to hit as many places as we could. I believe in the beginning of April, there were some places in the Midwest that were having private events, and I got invited to one of them, and it was like this gold ticket. They were going to build these super sick private closed down park features somewhere in Michigan, in the Midwest or Wisconsin, and we were going to be at those events. And then I thought we were going to work our way around that area until we actually got the Super Park, Super Park 22 invite this year. And that's usually on the West Coast. We don't know up until like a couple weeks prior, but I was figuring it was either going to be at Crystal Mountain, Washington again, somewhere in Tahoe, Mammoth, anywhere on the West Coast. And for sure, that's not happening this year. Super Park is the funnest, the biggest, the most insane, the most high consequence, and the most high reward event in snowboarding. I'm just going to end it at that, just in snowboarding. It's so fun. It's so legendary. It's not a contest, but everybody, for some reason, feels the need to throw down like crazy. It's springtime. It's the best conditions you can have. It's the biggest, best built features by all the best parks in the world. The most insane park crew builders come together and they just build the actual dream at a different mountain every year. And that would have been going down at some point from the middle to April to some point in May. And that's what we would have been doing what's the date right now? Yeah, mid to late April. That would have been happening either this week or next week or the next week, and there's no way that that's going to go down. So although we would have been driving around the middle of the country, we would have hit a bunch of states up in the north, and we would have went to Super Park. After Super Park, that's when it really gets fun, because it seems like the whole season is completely over and it's time to get grungy. And if you want to snowboard, you still can. You can snowboard year round, but you got to start making some moves. You got to start trekking into, whether or not you've been there, it could be the unknown, but places like Mount Hood, anywhere in the Pacific Northwest that still has snow, up in Washington, places like that. Obviously, there's some stuff like Tuckerman's Ravine on the East Coast, but Mount Hood would have been next. The RV, probably at this time or in the next couple weeks, with all the boys at Mount Hood, parked somewhere in a campground with our gear everywhere, all of our stuff soaked. Probably 5 or 6 of the boys here, 3 or 4 of the boys camping outside, probably a lot of you guys coming to visit. And the spring pass at Mount Hood, as we all know, jumps up $10 a year, unfortunately. You hate to see that, but 99, 109, 119. I think it'll probably be like 129 this summer, or it should have been. But from March to the end of May, $129, you get to ride Mount Hood Timberline, which is basically in April and May, the dead of winter. Might be a little bit slow, but you're riding actual 2-3 chairlift runs down and riding some of the funnest spring conditions that you could absolutely find in the US during that time. So that would have been May. And from May, we kind of we bum it around hard, waiting until summer camp. So as long as we don't get sick of just like the same type of spring snowboard conditions, because it gets really gnarly and it's a lot of work on your body, and it's wet, and you have to wear all the same gear, and you're trekking it, and it's slow. It's like spring snowboarding, summer snowboarding. People don't understand it's actually such a ridiculous amount of work that you have to put in, but that's what we would have been doing for sure. If we didn't get sick of it and went surfing for a couple weeks, maybe we would have went down to Baja. We always do that, but that would have brought us into June, and we don't know at this point yet, but Woodward at Tahoe summer camp 2020. If you guys have used my promo code, if you guys have booked a session because of me, I'm believing still that it's going to go on. We have no word yet. It could be canceled. It could not be. But the second week of June is going to be what I want to be the funnest, biggest, best week of Woodward Summer Camp history. I will be there, session 2. I'll leave the dates below, and I'll leave the promo code in the description of everything if you guys are still trying to sign up or look into it or get info, or if anybody has. I will announce as soon as I know what the deal is. But Woodward Tahoe, week 1 and 2, but week 2 would have been the one that I actually am trying to promote for me being there, is where we would be, and we would have every single person, hopefully, that you can think of that has been on the CVLOGS, that has been fun, that knows how to snowboard at Woodward. And I really want that to still happen. I don't actually know if it's going to or not, but I definitely will announce as soon as I find out. That's basically the route. We were going to be in Tahoe all the way through March. We were going to head up north to the Pacific Northwest. We were going to drive across the whole north of the U.S., hit a bunch of different states that we've never snowboarded in. We were going to figure out where Super Park is, go back to doing that. After Super Park was over, up to Mount Hood. We're going to do Mount Hood for the spring sessions, into the summer, and then down to Woodward. And then after that, I mean, I don't know how long this pandemic is going to last. I've heard recently that May 1st, the beaches in Southern California open up for surfing. I know places in Florida have already opened up their beaches for exercising and I believe for surfing maybe, but not posting up and chilling. And they got flocked like crazy. Everybody went out and got made fun of. Honestly, they looked really stupid. Like, we want to slow move our way into this thing. There's a lot of places in, I believe, the southern part of the U.S. that is saying, I think Atlanta, places like Georgia, they're going to open up shops within the next week, and restaurants are going to be able to open back up at 20% capacity. I just really want to say that if you are in an area where things are starting to open back up, please, please, please do our best. Like, this is so important to still socially distance from people, to still be very sanitary, to wash your hands, to not cough. If you're going to cough, cough into your shoulder. Like, do everything that you can in this downfall period where things are opening back up to make sure that you are not going to be at risk of spreading anything. We all are still in the exact same scenario. They're trying to slowly open things back up. We all want it so badly, but that could create a second wave if we don't do it right. So as stoked as I am to hear that things are starting to open back up, at the same time, I'm just begging, praying, and pleading that people are going to be smart about this. And that's really all I can say. I am so over this, but I'm also so about this that I'm doing my part like I've never done before when it seems crazy, but I just have to just relax and let this thing pan through because we are all in this together. So before I jump into the next segment of this podcast where I answer some questions, I just want to give a huge shout out to Outside TV for sponsoring this podcast and for sponsoring all the tours that we normally do. Outside TV is a legendary website that holds kind of as a host where you can upload your own videos, and they hold contests every single week. I believe it's outsidetv.com/campfire. You can create an account, you upload your videos to there, or you just embed your YouTube videos that you already uploaded. You click on the contest that you want to enter it in, and it just loads onto a giant hub where other people can interact with your stuff. You can have comments with people. Everybody can exchange thoughts on your actual content, and then at the end of the month, they pick a winner. And I've hosted some events. There's been sick prizes from stuff like Bulletproof, Avo Apparel, Candy Grind, Arbor Snowboards, everything you can think of. And that's that. I just want to say, Outside TV, thank you as always for the love and the support. We're going to jump into some questions now. All right, we're starting it off with Zane R. Clark. Yo, how do you start up a YouTube channel based around skateboarding, snowboarding, surfing, and wakeboarding? I'm just starting my channel back up, but I don't know how to start. I am just starting to skate, so I got like 100 clips of me learning to board slide on only day 3, but how do I put it together for the viewers? Hopefully, you can help me out. All right, so the most important thing that I explain to people who want to start up YouTube channels or even just put content out for the public to watch, it's so important that you understand that what you're doing needs to be epic. If you want people to watch your content, you need to be doing gnarly stuff. You can't just be doing mediocre, basic things. But there is another form as well where if you're not gnarly at it, like you're saying, you're just learning board slides and you have 100 clips of you learning how to board slide, you can document a journey. And people love watching progression because a lot of people don't know how to board slide. And there's types of content where you either want to watch somebody backflip, kickflip crooked front one out, and you just kind of watch it in awe. That's the epic part. Or you show the journey. You turn the camera on from the board slide, you put it on your face, and you show yourself sweating, and you show yourself working, and you explain a little bit to the people that this is my 30th try, that I am hurt, I got blood on me, but I'm still going because this is what I love to do. And then when people can feel that true, authentic passion, and they see the struggle, and they see the grind, and they see you working towards something, that builds a bond with them. So you don't always have to be the best, but you still got to be doing epic content. Board sliding on a skateboard is still epic, realistically. But if you're not putting it down clean, just make sure that the people know and make sure that they're with you on the process. You're documenting the journey of you becoming a better skateboarder, and you're not just trying to put out good content of you stomping a board slide, because there's thousands of people that can do board slides. What's going to separate you from that is the connectivity to you and your mission of learning that board slide, which they can relate to if they do or don't have it as well. If they have it, then they've learned, they've gone through that process so they can relate. If they haven't, then they want to, and then they can see that that's what they need to do in order to stomp that trick. And like you said about like what's starting, or what do you got to do to start? You got to literally just start. You got to not watch Netflix for one night, and instead of 2 hours watching a movie, you sit down on the computer and you struggle for 2 hours while you learn how to edit. And then the next day you get better at it, and the next day you get better at it. But just make sure that you remember that YouTube does not reward people that do not put in insane amounts of effort. You have to honestly upload for like 2 years, multiple videos a week before YouTube starts to throw you in an algorithm where they're going to bring you to new viewers. So just don't have your mind set on the numbers, the followers, the likes, the views. Do what you love. Do it to your best. Showcase it around the world and put your heart into it. And people will see that and they will love it. Next question is from Chad J. Morris. What's up, Casey? Love watching you ride. I was just wondering why you don't compete. Is it just not your thing? I know for a fact you're good enough to compete. So this is a really good question. I actually get this a lot. When I first started snowboarding, like heavily, consistently in 2011, 2012, I was 19, 20 years old. And there is nothing more awkward and stranger of a feeling than being a 20-year-old trying to figure out how to compete in snowboarding in the 2010 era, because that's when all of the 12-year-olds were born. They were born at 12 years old. Boom, born 12. Boom, has double corks. Being awoken and born into a life where all of a sudden you're watching snowboarding and everybody's putting down doubles, cab triples. So there's girls putting down dubs and trips, and you're just like, okay, this is normal. Your brain is in an absorbent state of processing and figuring out what is. So once you I don't even know how to explain it. Once you actually settle into your thoughts and your way of life, and you're like, okay, snowboarding, you think, at that age, I grew up double corks, double corks, double corks. So everybody, what I'm trying to say, is so young and so good. And I'm 20, trying to jump into USASA. That was the first and the smallest contest that you could do. And that's what leads to Rev Tour. That's what leads to Grand Prix. That's what leads to bigger and bigger events and the US Open and then Cups and then World Tour and all that kind of stuff. And you work your way up, but you got to start at USASAs, and everybody around you is 12. So I immediately had to absorb the fact of, okay, I'm actually younger than these kids because they've been riding longer than me. So they have an advantage. I just had to make some weird mindset with myself of like, you're actually younger. You're the same age as these kids because you have less wear and tear on your body because they've been snowboarding for 9 years. You've been snowboarding for 3. You're all good. So I breathed into that and let that happen. And right away, you love the feeling of competing because that's what you want to do. And in events like USASA, it's easy because it's regional to take first place. So I would win a couple events and feel really good. But also feel like I was just dominating because I was bigger. But then you go to nationals because you make your rankings at your 3 events, and then everybody flies to Colorado. The first year I ever went there by myself, first of all, flew to Colorado with not a single person that I knew. I had nobody upon arrival when I landed. I had no Airbnb set up. I had no coach. I had no nothing. Flew to Colorado, hit up some kid from the summer prior that I knew at Hood. And I saw that he was living there. I shot him a DM. He told me I could crash on his couch. Told me how the bus systems work. I hitchhiked actually from the airport to downtown Colorado, Summit County. I took another bus to this kid's house, and then I walked, crashed on his crib, crashed on his couch, and it was honestly like a couple of the first moments in my life where I started to realize, like, you can have faith in people, dude. People are there to hook you up, and if you have a good relationship with them, like I've helped that kid out before, they're going to come back around and they're going to help you out. So I woke up the next morning, took a crazy 1.5-hour mission from all these free buses through Frisco to Copper, showed up, and got humbled very quickly. All of the kids that were there that were the same age that I was beating at my events were all chucking doubles. They were all chucking triples. At that point, I had only gotten a couple double backies. This was like my second year really riding hard. I could hit the big jumps. I had some 9s, some switch 9s, and I believe my first run might have been switch back 5, back 9, and then I did, I think, back 7, front 10, and then switch back 9, back 10, and nothing. I got absolutely nothing. I kind of fumbled on a couple of them, scrubbed, hand, maybe missed grabs. Everything wasn't dialed in, but these kids were disgusting. And I learned a lot, and I still wanted to compete, so I started to do more events rather than USASAs because the whole traveling to nationals thing was so much, and there was so much schedule, and having to wake up at 6 o'clock and be on a bus for 7 to be at registration for 8, and then at 8 you had to wait until 9 to get your bib. At 9 you had to be at practice. 9:15 you had to drop. You had from 9:15 to 10:30 to do your practice. You had to figure out what to do from 10:30 to 12 o'clock to not brick up. Then from 12 to 1, your first heat, you got 1 drop. So you've been bricking up after riding, after waking up at 6 a.m. to do your 1 line. You go for your 1 line. Now you have to wait in line again for 30 minutes to do 1 more of your best line. And it just seemed like I was being told what to do. It just seemed like I was randomly being told to perform at my best at just the strangest time ever when I wasn't comfortable. And I'm such a person who lives on my own. I've traveled by myself. I've done my own thing for like 6, 7 years at this point, maybe even 3 or 4, but at my point now, like 10 years. Everything that has to do with being up early to do something for someone else, it just seems like you're working for them. And then, not to mention, you're sitting in a huddle with all these boards around you and all these people and all these events, and there's codes and there's numbers, and people are trying to tell you that this didn't look as good as this. But I'm thinking that's opinion. So who's this guy's opinion telling that maybe he likes indie outside the knee more than someone who likes indie inside the knee? Maybe, the guidelines, and it just was, blah, blah, blah. Exactly. It just got in my head, and it was so much. And I I stopped doing those crazy events and I started doing just local circuits of like Big Air Crotchet Mountain, where you just go, it's a jam format, 45 minutes, everybody get as many hot laps in as you can and chuck as much as you can. Other rail jams at different mountains, things like Loon Mountain has Last Call, which is so fun. All the Corinthia jams, those are so fun. I love doing those events, still do, because although it still sucks waking up early, going to register at 8, not having the event till 10, having to stand around all these people, be told when to go, practice at this time. For some reason, those events have all your friends that you know. They're more of a jam style format. It's not so intense. There's good prizes. There's a crowd of people around. It doesn't seem so massively overwhelming, like you have no say in any of it. So that's a long answer, but basically why I don't do contests and why I like free riding more is because it's funner. I enjoy it more. And to be completely honest, once you get to that high next level of competition, X Games and all that stuff, I for sure could improve my riding to that level. I have many double corks. I've done probably 5 different doubles. I could get them all together in a line. I could add 80s. I could add 360s. I could get 12s and get these things dialed in, but it's literally not what I want to do. It's not as fun as cruising around to a small mountain in Missouri and meeting 25, 30 kids that are so stoked and getting some laps in with them, and then getting back in my RV, making my own food, cruising with my boys, posting up on a cliffside, waking up, overlooking some beautiful scenery whenever I want to, putting out my content, doing my own thing. It just seems a lot more, I don't even know, entrepreneur style kind of in a way. And I just thoroughly enjoy my life and doing things on my time. So that is my answer, brother, and it's a long one. We'll do a couple more questions here because this is getting long. All right, the next one is from Sam K. Vale 12. Hey, Casey, I've been surfing once with a friend and I loved it. I've really been wanting to get out and try it again, but it seems like a really hard sport to get into without a mentor or more experienced person with you. My question to you is, what is the best way to go surfing when I don't have equipment, skill, or knowledge on where is best/safe to surf? I love how you're talking about the equipment, the knowledge, where is best and safe and all that stuff. There is safe spots to surf. I would first of all just become really humble and be ready to ask people for questions like myself. And I would say if you're going to start surfing, you need the right board. You obviously need the right wetsuit too. So figure out what the water temp is wherever you're going to be surfing. Look up which wetsuit matches that water temp and get that wetsuit. Obviously, you can always support people like Ben Gravy, my homie, and get the Hyperflex wetsuit with the pineapple. That's awesome. Also, we have Decathlon, the company that makes the bibs and the jackets and the surfboards and the wetsuits and stuff that I wear. And in all my videos, I have a 10% discount code for you guys. They make surfboards, they make wetsuits, so you could talk to them, you could DM them. People will always help you. But when it comes to actually getting in the water, if it's your first time, you need an 8-foot foamy. There's no questions asked. I always tell people, lifetime warranty, $99, Costco, you get yourself a Wavestorm. Or once again, you can support the boy Ben Gravy, wavebandit.com, get an 8-foot pineapple, thing's legendary. Or last route is Decathlon. They make great boards as well, and there's a discount code, and that supports me, and that supports them, and they'll help you out with fitting you as well. So once you have your 8-foot foamy, go to the beach, go online, go to Google, go to Surfline, go to these apps, Magic Seaweed, and they will actually give you breakdowns of certain areas that are better for surfing than other areas. You don't want to go to a rocky spot. You want to go somewhere where there's a beach and there's a sand bottom. You have your 8-foot board, so you're going to be catching waves that are kind of already broken and the white water is just rolling. And that white water rolls and hits you. That's where you're going to be trying to paddle. You're inside more, so it's going to be shallow, but it's going to be easier because it's not a crazy wave, and you just work on your jumping up and you're riding straight on that before you actually go outside to the set waves where they're breaking and moving left or right. Talk to people on the beach, like I said. Ask a lifeguard, is this safe? Where should I go? If you see like 20, 30 people in an area and you're a beginner, you don't want to go there. You want to go maybe further in, away from the line a little bit, and just find a little nook where there's nobody, because you're going to be falling, you're going to be kicking your board out, you're going to be getting hit in the head with your fins. There's probably going to be a little bit of blood, and you just kind of want to have an area where you're not embarrassed for people to see you getting smoked. Not that it matters whatsoever at all, but also that's not dangerous enough. So talk to the people around that area, make sure you get the right gear using whichever company that you would like to, and ask questions. Go online, research the spot. There's so much info out there about how to surf for beginners. You just got to put a little bit of time in, get on your computer, and you'll figure it out. All right, we'll shut it down with this last one right here from Samantha Rupp. Hey Casey, I was wondering if you could talk about adjusting to attitude / dealing with altitude sickness in one of your next podcasts or videos. Love your content. That's a good one. One time I drove all the way, actually the following year, the second USASA contest, the second year, I kind of wanted some redemption. So I did my routine on the East Coast, made it into finals, and then I didn't fly this year to Colorado. I drove. And when you're driving into Colorado, you go through a crazy pass, and before you hit the pass and you go up all this vertical to get into the mountains, you're at like almost zero. You're at sea level in the middle of the country. And so I'm driving for 12, 15 hours, start hitting the pass, you start driving up the pass, and you've been on level, flat sea level for so long. I haven't been in Colorado in actually a year. My legs started getting queasy, but I didn't even realize it. This was the day before the contest. I drove straight to Breckenridge, got out of my car, geared up. It was 2 o'clock, took all the lifts all the way to the top of Breckenridge, which is like 12,000 feet, I believe. And then I hiked Imperial, which is the highest point of Breckenridge. After you get off the lift, got up there and my whole body was shaking. I was at 13.2 thousand feet above sea level or something. My legs were so gnarly, they gave out. And I rode down the entire mountain with my legs feeling like they had needles in them. Got to the bottom and just legs up, off the ground, in a chair, like actually hurting. Like could not press on my legs. When I stepped on them, it was physically hurting me. And I'm realizing that I gave zero time to acclimate. I hadn't eaten. I probably was still fasting off Bulletproof. I had no water whatsoever. And I went to the extreme and I hiked all the way to the top of a mountain at the highest elevation that you could. So my advice for acclimating to high elevation is take it slow. They make a couple things, I think airborne or something like that, or something that is something to do with altitude. It's probably not airborne, but I'll leave it at the bottom right here, the word. And you could take something like that. But I would say drink so much water, get some suja, get a bunch of vegetables and nutrients inside your body because it's going to be needing to heal, and walk at first. Maybe don't ride your first day there. Don't go in hot tubs. Hot tubs are bad. Anything that's going to dehydrate you. No smoking, no drinking, nothing like that. And just walk. Maybe you can ride, but if you drive straight up like me, do not hike to the top. Do not even ride to the top. Do not put your all in. Just realize that like you're there for a week, or maybe you're there for a month. Like take it slow, drink water, acclimate yourself proper just by walking, just by riding, and don't go crazy like I did. So that is it for You Love to Hear It podcast, I believe, number 6. If you guys are stoked, please give this thing a thumbs up. That's all I'm asking. I'm out here trying to keep the content coming for you through quarantine. Shout out to the Narvi for being so legendary. I cannot wait to get back in this thing, to get back on the road, to come and visit some of you guys. Thanks to all the sponsors, YLTHI, Outside TV, Candy Grind. If you guys are trying to get any merch, you already know I got some stuff up on my big cartel. We got some Avo apparel left. I appreciate all the love and all the stoke and all the support during this time. It honestly means more now than ever. And we will see you guys soon for another episode of the You Love to Hear It podcast. Maybe we'll get a guest on. Drop a comment. Who do we want on the next podcast? Should we get Daly in here? D-Dub? Dossie? T-Cap, Mito, Luke, any of the boys, all the boys? Let's hear it. Woo!